Beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Flying High on Consciousness podcast. I have a raw and real episode for you. So, oh my goodness. This one is about how being a people pleaser or being in fawn response, I realized, is manipulation. It's thwarting and distorting and contorting ourselves to fit in, to not be too big, to not be too much, to make people like us. I'm going to share a brief story of how I came about this. I actually recorded an episode on this yesterday after some deep inner work, and I don't think I can release that episode. There was a lot in there. I have to go back and listen, but I wanted to give you a more concise one today. And if I do release the other one, amazing. I talk about a number of other things, such as why they don't want us as women, like kind of hermiting and caving, so to speak, or cocooning during our moon cycles, because that's when so many codes come through. And man, Source literally kind of kicked my ass and made me cocoon this time during my cycle, because it was so deeply painful because of the deep core release that I was going through of core wounding, which we're going to talk about in a second. But ladies, I do invite you to carve out the first few days of your cycle to literally just be in bed and receive the codes, because the wisdom that comes through that will change your life and everyone around you's life and will turn everything you touch into alchemy is so profound during that time. The veil is so thin, and this is why we're indoctrinated to hustle, go, so we can't receive these codes, because if all the women did, then it would force humanity to shift and to rise. It would force men to rise and honor and devote, and we just wouldn't put up with a lot of the things that we put up with now if we truly listen to our womb wisdom. And if we truly listened to the pain, the messages that are in the pain. Anyhow, hopefully the other episode's okay to release because I go deeper into this. But what I want to share today is that I am in Florida right now and learning a new modality, which I'll talk about in a second. And wow. I was on the first plane here, which was 5 hours, and I was like, I'm going to devote to some deep inner work. And my mentor, I've noticed a pattern in my life that has played up over and over and over and over again. And she gave me some questions to journal on. And I started journaling on these questions, and wow, a lot was revealed. And then from there, I was guided to do an activation, one of my shadow activations, because I kept getting triggered to certain women posting certain photos. And I'm like, okay, no triggers are gold, there are shadows. So what is going on here? Because triggers are a gold mine for shifting your life and for transmuting your deepest traumas. And it's always actually a projection of something that we're judging in ourselves. So I'm going to read to you what I wrote to my mentor, or at least pieces of it. I did the journaling, and whoa, huge epiphanies. I did several pages, but the main thing I realized are that grasping and trying to outsource my safety or sense of validation is an avoidance of going deeper within to the pain. It was a way of avoiding the deeper pain, which carries the wisdom I needed. I felt like I was dying last night in my bleed, a cellular death, and more layers of my toxic masculine patterns that felt like they were protecting, in quotations, me, dissolved and are shedding. I experience how they are not protecting me and are constructs that I used to strive in my family, that I used to survive in my family and have carried over to my adulthood life, friendships, and business. Just caveat, in a few moments after this, I'm going to talk about internal family systems. which is what I am learning right now. And I'm so excited to use with my clients in addition to the other modalities. These epiphanies, so that you guys all know, from the journaling came shortly after I did the shamanic breath work that I did. Maybe I'll put it on the podcast. I did a real post about, and there was codes in my left hip flexor and like deep in the left side of my womb that I didn't actually still feel safety. And I was always searching for this exteriorly and in past relationships and in family and sometimes in friendships and business. And the problem is that I was outsourcing some of my masculine energy and even to male friends. Okay, anyways, I will continue. The fawn response is a manipulation, I realized, of self. It's self-abandonment. And it's a manipulation of others to try to unconsciously manipulate them to like me, even the overgiving. I also had a pattern of overgiving to stay safe, quote, in the tribe. But if I didn't need anything from anyone else because I'm inner sourcing instead of outsourcing, I will shift that pattern from the deepest core level. Because, guys, I've shifted this in other levels, but there is layers to this. There is deep, deep layers, which is why mentorship with people who know actually how to do core healing is so important. Because until we get to the core layer, which often we can't get to right away because the body needs to process other layers of trauma before it's able to process the core layer, because that literally feels like death. But that is how you shift your life. And it's so important to have somebody who knows what they're doing and to be able to hold you through it. Otherwise, you're just going to be running in circles like I was for so long. So grateful for my mentors and teachers, at least the ones I have now. Stories on some of the other ones. I won't name names, but there are some sexual predator teachers out there in the healing arts, so beware. Okay, continuing. I did a shadow activation from one of my courses on women who essentially prostitute their energy to seduce men, and sometimes women to get what they want. So by this, I don't actually mean being a prostitute. I mean, it's that energy of like, look at me, hey, and it's to get attention. I kept getting triggered by this. And what I realized was, whoa, it's coming from a deep, deep trauma. So in one of my shadow activations, or actually in two of them, I think, I called the other person's body into mine, or I jump into theirs to see why they're doing what they're doing. And I realized that it was coming from a deep, deep trauma and a feeling of a need to control for survival. And I was doing the same thing with my fawn response, my caregiver response. Every time I crossed the line, it was no longer honoring me and only to be liked or approved of. So, yeah, I won't really go in so much about crossing the line, but basically it was like there's a line of me being like a caregiver and like giving from a place of fullness, and then there's a line where I'm doing it just as a trauma response. That's what I'm referring to there. And for those of you who didn't listen, and Instagram me at Jill Alana Nixon, if you want me to put this on the podcast. But I had a free masterclass, which is now in Surrendering into Sacred Union with Source, the course. But it was about surrendering into sacred union with Source, but it was the masterclass. And I talk about my journey of how I used to manipulate men and didn't even know I was doing it. And it came from a deep, deep abandonment wound. And I literally purged that out, like literally puked it out when I realized I was doing it. Yeah, it's a full story, and it shifted literally everything in my life, like all my relationships. So the reason that photo, I knew those photos weren't triggering me just in, or it wasn't a mirror specifically to like posting photos for needing attention, is because I purged out those distortions. And it's also interesting because like if someone were to post a naked photo, but it was out of just a pure place of like, I'm honoring my body and it's beautiful, I would have been like, yeah, go girl. But it was the photos that are like attention seeking that triggered me. But then it's because that it was the same trauma as me, but just coming out in a different way. It was the manipulation aspect. So on this journey, and it is a journey of surrendering to sacred union with Source, with self, and then ultimately with a beloved, you have to let all the parts of you die that are not in resonance with true love from source. It's pure love that manipulation cannot exist in that. And the fawn response, I realized, was a manipulation and a thwarting and a distorting and a contouring of my own energy, my own values. Anyways, and the funny thing is, it's not funny, but the thing is, I had recognized this pattern for years and years, and I would kind of shift it, but because the core trauma wasn't identified yet, which it now has been, and I've done some shamanic breathwork on it, I've done journaling on it, I've worked with my one-on-one mentor on it, I have worked a little bit with my teacher on it, although that's kind of about recoding, and they're both important to recode, but also to heal the core trauma. They're two different things. And now I'm doing internal family systems on it, where it's like calling the aspect of myself back and actually protecting her and not making her fawn or small or contort or distort herself. Anywho, back to what I wrote my mentor. They are both ways of thwarting self and contouring self for perceived protection or provision, which is why it triggered me with the sexual photos being used as bait, being posted, because I was doing the same energetics as a fawn response by overgiving. The thing is that they are both distorted because they are not directly connected to source and self-love, which means the control aspect is actually the shadow and fear running it, distorting the pure connection to source, light, and truth, our truth. Oh my God, so many epiphanies. I love that my mentor read all of this. I also realized that the reason I was looking outside was because I didn't trust myself fully, nor source to hold me, which is crazy, guys, because I've had so many miracles in my life when I literally didn't have places to stay in other countries. And like not only me, it was like my dog too. And like walking out of a past abusive relationship and literally didn't have a place to stay. And like I would manifest places to stay. Like source literally just provided. It was crazy. But yet I'm still not fully trusting. And there's this like thing in my nervous system that's so deep and it runs far in the lineage. It's not just like me. It's in the lineage of like, you got to take care of yourself. Like never fully trust a man, which also means never trust God, source, fully, because that's the divine masculine of the world. And so it's crazy that there was still an energetic imprint of distrust in the masculine energy of the world, which is source. And so anyways, I also realized that the reason I was looking outside was because I didn't trust myself fully, nor source to hold me. I wasn't trusting fully my intuition. Ooh, this is big, guys, because people always gaslit me when I would talk about my intuitive feelings or senses, and they were always right when I followed them, and they were always revealed to be right in retrospect when I didn't follow them. And a lot of my body pain is communicating it's disrespectful of not trusting her. So my body was like, you're disrespecting me, not trusting me. I've stayed in relationships way past their due date because of this fawn response and because it felt safer, even though it wasn't. It felt safer, and I would just literally numb my body pain because it was so intense. So she wants to be trusted in her communication so they don't need to be excruciatingly painful anymore and can be subtle nudges. I'm talking about she is my body. She was trying to get my attention on a deeper level, which is literally why source like kicked my ass and was like, on your bleed this time, you were literally going into a death portal and you are receiving the codes of this pain because it's time. You're no longer available to repeat these old patterns. There's too much at stake. Because this isn't just the reason I'm sharing all of these things that are so vulnerable. It's not just about me. I see these threads throughout humanity. Like even in this training, it's crazy. Like the similarities between some of the women and what they've experienced and myself. The nuances are different, but the full like they're similar energetics and similar stories, just different details. So this is not a uncommon thing, which is why I'm sharing it, because there's tools to stop these fawn responses, to stop manipulation. For those of you who didn't attend that masterclass when it was available, let me know if you want another podcast. I talked about how you can't actually enter love in a relationship, which is why it's so important to do this work yourself, even if you're in a relationship, to bring it up to deeper levels of love. You cannot enter love when you're in manipulation. So if there's that fear that this person's going to leave me, I have to distort myself, I have to people please, I have to make them jealous. You cannot enter true union with that. And you also are disconnecting from source. You're not entering true union with God. That's the frequency of love. So this work is so important. And I have a number of courses that utilize tools. I also do one-on-one. I also have a retreat in May. It's called Soul Sovereignty. It will change your life and up-level every area of your life. We had so many miracles last retreat. Like, I'm literally going to cry, like tears of like awe. One woman manifested $100,000 and was able to buy her dream house, which was also a miracle because I think it like wasn't available. There was some synchronicity there, and I can't remember what it was, but I held the vision. Somebody else got citizenship. Some other people got clarity on whether their relationship, which was on halt, was in alignment or not in alignment. Got deep clarity on that. Actually, two people did, like different relationships. We had somebody else completely shift career paths to something that was completely not aligned to something that was full in alignment with her beloved. They started a new business together that's thriving. Just like so many things, like actually another woman got clarity on a relationship and a lot was revealed. Deep healing of some womb aspects and intuition on why the pain and actually the illness had been there. Just so many things. What else? Somebody literally manifested the money for the retreat and more in one night. She's like, I really want to come. And she had put down deposit and like, make the choice and the money will come. And it literally came the next day. She got a tip that was like way more than the retreat. These things happen. Like, source will always give us the resources that are needed for our soul growth, soul pull. Always. But we have to make the choice first. And the retreat, honestly, it's on early bird right now. It's not even that much. Everything's included. We rented a yurt. We rented a resort on the Sunshine Coast, an amazing chef who's also a shaman, and she is going to give a cacao ceremony as well, with deep blessings and prayers. And obviously she's putting those blessings and prayers into the food as well. So I'll put that in the show notes if you guys are interested. That will be the best investment you've ever made. It's $2,888 right now. On early bird, and it will go up likely in the end of October. I don't actually have a date it's going up yet, but probably October 31st to $3,555. So I would suggest grabbing on early bird if you're interested. Anyways, back to my epiphanies. So after I realized that my body was trying to get my attention on a deeper level to truly listen, and she showed me, like literally in this death portal, she showed me all the times I abandoned in past relationships and stayed in them over their expiry date, when logically I didn't know that it was time to leave, but intuitively I knew it wasn't in full alignment. And I didn't always know exactly why in the time, but I knew something was off. And as time went on, things got revealed, and I still kept in fawn response and fear of leaving some of them until it just was too much and I started to hold standards. But that took way longer than it should have because of this trauma and because I didn't have the proper guidance at that time, the proper mentorship to identify these. And now I do, and I'm so grateful for that. And this is what I help other people with too. Not just fawn responses, but anything that is out of alignment, to be in the full power. Because when we contort our energy, you guys have to understand that we're not in our power. It's like we're only embodying an aspect of ourself, not our full powerful self. And so often when we go into these responses, or the body's trying to communicate, there's deep pain, emotional and physical, and most people numb. And I get it. I numbed so much. It was only really when I stopped numbing that things in my life really began to shift on an energetic level, on a visceral level. Like, I literally look so different even than like a few months ago. And people have told me this. I'm not just saying this. Like, I can see it too. But a lot of people have told me this. My heart is so much more open because I'm able to hold more boundaries. And there's just like the deepest layers coming up. I cannot wait to see what my facilitation is like on the other side of this. Because it's just going to be so much more powerful. Because I'll be embodying more and more of myself, which allows more and more energy to flow through me. Okay, anyways, I'm almost done. So I've been called to honor my rhythm and cycle more, especially in my work and creations, and get more into receptive mode, doing only when my intuition, not my mind, guides me to. The overdoing was an avoidance pattern of not wanting to look deeper at the messages encoded in the pain. Thus, it kept amplifying. So much more was illuminated and came through, and it still is, but that was the biggest and most important nuggets. I made a devotion to keep finding safety and approval within and not without, so not outside of myself, which will mirror back eventually, but I won't need it outside of myself anyways. When we find validation and power and like all the things inside, happiness, joy, we don't need anything on the outside. And by default, everything comes. Things come. This is like a key code of manifestation when we don't need them. This is the surrender. Because I have it anchored deeper and deeper inside of me. The tipping point of self-abandonment is fear, usually unconscious, when I'm not fully trusting myself, source, and my rhythm, including my cycle, and still think I need to keep up or all will come crashing down. So many layers of this programming I keep seeing playing out in my field in different ways, areas big and small, that I didn't see before. And the cracks and crevices, it's being illuminated deeply. And then this is what came through right after that. It is in the pain that the wisdom lies. Pain is our soul communicating with us through the wisdom of our body. The numbing of pain is how they, the government, and the people controlling the world, but not for long, keep people enslaved and keep people from seeing the truth and disconnected from their true soul desires. This is truth in what's going on in humanity. Deeper levels is truth in relationship and friendships, and business, in soul path, soul pull. This is why people need to numb, because they're not following the soul path, soul pull. And it's easier because the pain is so deep. But how the key codes are in the pain. And when you have the proper space holder and facilitator, again, this is literally what I do for a living, then you're able to process that. They will help you process that in a very safe and integrated way. All the pain we suppress individually and as a collective and had normalized hold the key codes to our soul's deepest desires. It is in the listening to the messages of the pain and the transmutation of the stuck energy in which we liberate ourselves and receive the guidance to manifest our soul's desires into reality. The samskaras, which is Sanskrit for traumas, are what hold the key codes. The wisdom is in the transmuting of that. And the action that we need to do is in that wisdom. It's encoded in there. This is why it's so important to transmute it and not just clear it. If we clear something but we haven't transmuted it, it will come back bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I have so many stories on this. And some healing modalities are actually bypassing. They're only working with the mind, not the body, not the somatics, and not the soul and the soul lessons. And eventually, when we numb long enough, it turns into a tumor or cancer or autoimmune. These are all byproducts, or whatever illness, or a deep injury. Wow, I have stories on this. Maybe we'll do a podcast on that too. And I'm going to do a podcast with a dear soul sister who came into my life in divine timing, craziest synchronicities. I love this woman so much. I swear we have known each other for so many lifetimes. And her story just like resonates with everything that I went through a few years ago, like so crazy. But we're going to do a podcast on bypassing the trauma and how a lot of healing modalities are actually bypassing, and the importance of actually integrating the soul lessons. And she has such a profound story that I'm really excited for her to share. And this is it, like when you start to follow the path of the soul path, soul pull, like such aligned people come into your life. I met her actually online. 4 people connected us from across the world. None of those people knew each other. And finally we ended up being in the same city and met. And like, she is like one of my dearest friends now. And like, this is literally just what happens. This is just how life gets to be. And we like just manifest together all the time. Like, it's miracle after miracle after miracle, because we're so in resonance and alignment, and we're so about the greater mission and not the ego, not all the other things, because we're integrating the soul lessons and we know our soul pull. We know why we're actually here on a deeper level. And that's only because of the soul work that we've individually done. And now we're doing some together. I think we might have an event as well in October. So stay tuned. And we're also probably going to launch a course together on sisterhood. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to say the name, but yeah. Okay, so I'll put the retreat info in the show notes. And I will also, can't remember what else I was going to put in the show notes. I'll put my Instagram in the show notes just in case you guys want that Sacred Union Masterclass where I talk about how I was like literally puking up distortions and how they came to light. It's like 3.5 hours. But yeah, I can like cut it up into chunks or get my team too, if you guys are interested. So let me know if you are. And if you really enjoyed this, if this helped you in any way, please leave a 5-star review. It helps so much. I didn't realize how much it helps get this podcast out to other people. I have some really juicy and vulnerable and raw and real episodes coming as well. I literally have a list of episodes I need to record, or I get to record, and share it with anybody you think it would help. We're all in this together, and I cannot do this soul mission by myself. We all need each other, and we all like get to share our wisdom and our gifts. And this is literally what the new earth is about. Co-creation, loves, co-creation. So I'm going to love you and leave you. And yeah, if this episode provided value, please DM me on Instagram as well, at Jill Alana Nixon. I'll take it in the show notes. I love to hear your guys' epiphanies. It literally, if every time a soul is like, oh my goodness, you shifted my life, like it cracks my heart just a little bit bigger every single time, like wide open, even more and more and more. So I love hearing it, because like this takes a lot of effort to not just record podcasts, but like to get my team to put it up, to cut it, all the things, the notes that I take before, like there's a lot of time and energy, and there's no compensation for this. It's truly just out of service. So I love hearing your wins, and I would love if you could share it with anybody who would value from it. And if you could take a couple minutes, 1 minute, and leave a 5-star review if it provided value, that would be so appreciated. Okay, big hugs. Oh, I totally forgot. I have a free 3-day master series on soul aligned abundance, October 7th to 9th. I'll also put that link in the bio. if you are wanting and desiring soul-aligned abundance, if you're at a job that you're like, oh, this is not soul-aligned, I can help you with those entrapments. I will illuminate so much. And we're also going to do a clearing to find some imprints of scarcity patterning in your life that have been unconsciously running your life. And I will talk about universal laws of abundance that I've helped people literally create $200,000 weeks with, that I built my business on. We 2.5x'd on my second year of business, and we were just under $100,000 in the first year, literally due to these key codes. And I literally started my first year in business at like $400 a month. So these work. They are proven strategies that I have used with myself, my business, and helped so many people. So many testimonials, guys. You can find some of these on YouTube. And then also on my Instagram, testimonial, Jill Alana Testimonials. But yeah, highly recommend coming. It's free. If you can't make it live, the replays will be available for a week. So please sign up in the link in the bio if you want these key codes and the clearing. And I'll see you there. Because we need more people following their soul pull, and a lot of people get trapped not following it, not following their gifts and their soul mission, which we literally need to build the new earth. Everyone has their own key codes. Everyone has their own soul mission that is a piece of this new earth. And so many people are trapped at jobs that they don't like, or they're not investing in the healing, the tools, because they're stuck in scarcity and they don't think that they can actually get the resources, which is all a lie to keep you trapped. Okay, love you. And I will see you on October 7th to 9th for that free master series. The link will be in bio.